Our special guest is John Mackay, the creation guy. We're taking calls. Let's take a call from David, who is near Dalby in Queensland. Hi, David. Welcome along.
Yeah, g'day Neil, g'day John. Just like to share a comment that was told to me by an Aboriginal guy that I worked with probably 30 years ago. And there's a story went out around about that time by the national broadcaster that they'd found these paintings out at Dulo. And suddenly we went for having Aboriginals in Australia for 20,000 years to 40,000 years because of it. And he come back from Smoko one day and he's shaking his head and laughing to himself. And I said, "What's up?" He said, "You white fellas are a bit silly, you know." Because he'd heard that story while he was having Smoko. And he said, "You white fellas call it graffiti." He said, "Me and my mates put those paintings there when we were kids," and he was a guy that wouldn't have been much more than about 40 at the time. And they dated his paintings at 40,000 years, not 40 years. So I just thought I'd share that. That came from a guy that was born and raised there, and he shared it with me firsthand.
Well, David, good to hear from you. And in case there are listeners that think somehow or other a conversation like this is meant with any disrespect to our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander brothers and sisters, you'll be mistaken. This is certainly an honouring of them and the way that they've considered history, even if it's a Dreamtime type of way of thinking about that. John Mackay, your thoughts here for David?
Okay. Now, the fact that the ABC and the other reporters were into tens of thousands of years, and the Aboriginal man who lived at the time and obviously was influenced by your European culture then and could probably move from one to the other with no trouble whatsoever, saw the significance of making such a gross error. So there is an underlying assumption in much modern science of vast ages. And if I can just put one point of sadness, Christianity Today last week had an article on the coming vote, you know, the yes-no referendum. And the article was by an Aboriginal, and it was all about how Western Europeans have to acknowledge, should realise, must know that we Aborigines have been here for more than 60,000 years. Now, I thought, what a tragic comment. Number one, having worked with so many Aboriginal groups around Australia, I find that they have either now or the Dreamtime. He borrowed that 60,000 years from European pagans, from European evolutionists, not from Christians at all. So the fact that he was using 60,000 years to justify what would lead on to his vote yes, land claims, etc., is a fallacy with pagan roots. Now, I'm serious about that. Here is a guy who claims to be a Christian, yet is dismissing the whole of the history of biblical Christianity and the whole of history of man. Significance? If we have been here 60,000 years, no Aboriginal is descended from Noah, because Noah did not live 60,000 years ago. Noah actually is descended from Adam. Adam didn't live 60,000 years ago. If the Aborigines push the line, they've been here 60,000 years, they cut themselves off from two important things. Number one, Adam was a sinner, and our problem is not the colour of our skin, but the nature of our sin within. And therefore you cut yourself off not from just Adam, not from just Noah, not from just the other patriarchs in the Bible, not from just Paul in the New Testament, but from Jesus Christ, who came to die for Adam's sin and the sin of all his descendants, you, me, and the Aboriginals. So if he wants to promote Christianity, he better cut out his pagan 60,000 years, cut out his evolutionary nonsense, or he has no message whatsoever. He just isn't a Christian with a claim about the age of the earth. He's a person who's denying the truth of Adam and Jesus Christ, the last Adam. That's the seriousness. So thank you for that story, and bless the Aboriginal who was honest enough to tell you it's a funny story, actually, but you'll find this happens quite a lot. Really good.
David, thank you so much for your call.